We didn't really know anything about photo booths back then, or like what they were, and that it was actually an industry. My brother and I we wanted to make this rig for our own. We had this little personal project we were doing, so we made one, and I was kind of bouncing back and forth between like I had just graduated from an engineering school, and my brother was a videographer. He had like the need to create the shot, so he had the idea, and then I had the here's how this can be possible kind of sort of thing. I didn't really have much going on before then. I guess I was like, I don't want to say homeless, but didn't really have anywhere to live. So I lived at the machine shop that I was manufacturing at for a little while. Well, the first one was in my parents' garage, but the ones after that were there was like a small handful that like I could just build by myself. Kind of learned how to machine and manufacture, and so we built a few more, and we sold our first couple, which is when we started to figure out like what the photo booth industry was. And so we got very involved with events for about 6 years there, where we kind of developed the product to our own, like how we would like it to be. We used our own experience to say, okay, like, hey, that didn't work, or hey, this stopped working at the event. Like, how can we make it better for the next one? So it was kind of like an ongoing like loop of going to an event and then getting the feedback, and then developing the product further, which is now where it is today. Like if I showed you the very first one, you'd be like, no, thank you. We sold like maybe, I don't know, 200 or so into the States in 2015. And a few of the customers that we had were like, hey, like, I know you sold us this thing, but can you come and like work our event? And we're like, oh, sure. That sounds like you're going to pay for us to come over there and we're going to work it and then we'll come back. And they're like, yeah, actually, we don't even need to keep the product, and like, so that, we can have I was like, oh, well, this is kind of cool. So I don't have to make one each time anymore. So, we built like a little arsenal of event units, and kind of developed an events team over the years. And we started at like kind of like smaller events, corporate parties, and that evolved to we were traveling worldwide. I think we went to every continent except for obviously not Antarctica. But just doing thousands of events, and which is why I think everyone's like, oh, the celebrity party, and we're like, okay, well, we've done like the Emmys, the Oscars, I don't know, like all the NFL teams and stuff. So we were like, oh, I don't know what celebrity party everyone's talking about. But I think it was, there was a little bit of an advantage because at the time there was not a lot of people who had them. So there was space for us to, fly out there. And that's obviously probably not as feasible anymore because, there's 360 booths in every, hundreds of them in every city now. Our wives and girlfriends and, boyfriends and husbands and spouses all love our lives much better now, because we actually like come home on the weekends. We're not like traveling to events all the time. Like we are very much like 9 to 5, like machine shop. We do, so we like, get all the stock material in, cut it down, machine it, finish it, paint it, assemble it, and do all the testing and everything. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, it's not like what you would see at like a a car manufacturing facility. But we have, an assembly line that the product goes through, and it's kind of cool.
Awesome.
I definitely enjoy it. Wow. I mean, there's a lot. So I would say, in general, the fact that we were able to have 5-6 years of development of our product, where we were actually the ones in the field, doing the experiences, giving our own product feedback, and our butts were on the line if for some reason something didn't work. So we have all of that information that we've learned, and it's maybe not something that you can see right off the bat or from a picture. But all of that info that we've gathered over those years has been put into our products. And so they are while it looks like, we just started selling in 2020 sort of, but the product has been in this constant cycle of improvement for, I guess it's been maybe almost 8 years now, 7. I can't do public math. Say 7 or 8 years now. So I'd say that's definitely a huge advantage that I think maybe a lot of people overlook. Obviously we're also, as far as I know, the only ones that are actually fully manufacturing it here, not just assembling parts, here in the US, which is our biggest market right now. So with that, there's a tons of little features and stuff that separates us, but that kind of is all lumped into here's what we've learned from, operating booths for 8 years now. Whereas now, if we were to have just make a product on our own right now without taking it to an event, I don't think it would be the best, product, which I think a lot of companies do. They kind of see something and then they're like, okay, we can make that, but they might cut a corner or something oh, we can make it less expensive if we do this, but really there's a reason that it's designed that way to begin with. Anyways, so I'd say in general, that's kind of the big part. And also, since we manufacture everything and it's directly from our warehouse, customer support is super easy. It's hey, you have an issue, you want to talk to the guy that built it, or the guy that is reselling it to you from someone else, or so it's kind of nice. The decision was made prior to the pandemic, but I would say the pandemic definitely pushed that along. Prior to the pandemic, we're okay, we feel like we got our worth out of the event space. The product is as good as it'll get. And while we loved doing the events, it certainly takes a toll on the staff and myself and everyone. And we knew we had this secret weapon of okay, well, we could just start selling this at some point. And so that was kind of the point where we were all right, we feel we didn't want to there's a saying, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain, which I don't know if that completely translates properly to our situation, but we were kind of at our peak, and we're okay, well, here's the next best thing we can do is kind of close this out while we're doing good, and start in the production side of things. And then when the pandemic hit, we were well, there's no events anymore, so this kind of worked out. And since then, obviously, we get a lot of inquiries for events from our old clients and stuff, and we just pass those right on to our customers. But yeah, we are 100% just manufacturing now. Man, that's a great question because like I've been wrong every year. So like in 2014 when we started, we're like, oh cool, like we could we could maybe sell one of these, and then 2015 rolls around, and we've sold I don't know 200, and we're doing events now, and we're like, oh wow, well that's not going to continue. And then 2016 rolls around, and we're like, it has been like exponential growth each time. So I feel like whatever I say is going to be the complete opposite, or like whatever my gut feeling would have been. um, but just because I I am constantly surprised on how popular they're getting. Uh, but I don't know. I mean, I definitely think there is like they're here to stay. Um, I think there's definitely some parts of the industry where like it might calm down a little bit. Like I think it'll still show up at a lot of like backyard parties and weddings, and obviously a lot of the larger brand activations, Super Bowls, those sorts of things, because people love to see themselves in 360. uh,
Mhm.
but I tell myself this every year, and I'm always wrong, but I have to assume at some point it's going to slow down, because there's only so many people in the world that can own these. But also, um, I don't know. This is my first time like starting something from the ground up and like seeing it progress. So maybe I'm just I don't know, naive. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like ebbs and flows, especially like right now around holiday season time. Like everyone is gearing up for these holiday parties, and we know from when we did events that holiday season is like you are quadruple booked on a
Mhm.
day, because everyone needs to have their holiday party. So times like now, it picks up a ton, and then it usually like slows down some like midwinter. But then there's a few big expos that pop up, and then and then everything restarts again. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen it slow down much at all. So yeah, I mean, honestly, like I do think that there are kind of two different worlds now. Like like everyone will still always love a traditional photo booth, uh, and like that has its own, you know, uh, that has its own like characteristics that make it awesome. And the 360 photo booth, like also it's like the hip new thing that everyone loves. Um, so, and I think that'll stay hip for a while. Uh, and yeah, I don't know. I think they're a little different, so I don't want to compare them directly. But I do think that like if you're starting a new business, I mean, I don't know, maybe 80% of our customers are starting a new business, and all they have is a 360
Mhm.
booth, and they sometimes will like branch off and get the photo booths, but sometimes they'll just come back and grab more 360s from us. But it's definitely, at least for now, seems to be quite um, the business starter, I should say. How can I say this? Yes. um, but we like to come out with stuff when we like know that it's ready. So it's still a little ways away. I can't necessarily say what we have going on, but we have we do have a passion for engineering. That's like who we are at, like our core. So like we will continue to engineer, like innovate, develop, just because that's our passion. So we are constantly like, and this is also involved with the actual like OrcaVue product as well, like the 360 booth. We're constantly like innovating with that. But beyond the 360, we've been getting pretty excited about a few things. Yeah, it'll be, it's not coming like this month or anything. It'll be a little while. Yeah, so we're on all the main social channels. Obviously, like orcavue.com. And by the way, Orca, like the orca whale, and then VUE. Orca originally came from orbiting camera, which not a lot of people know. And then same thing for Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Just, yeah, OrcaVue there. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.